This is Matthew Sowers, senior at the University of Pittsburgh. The best advice that I received was actually from my uncle, who is local. He grew up in Pittsburgh and went to North Allegheny, but currently he's a professor in Ifrane, Morocco, teaching at a business school over there. And he has his own portfolio, and I always like to pick his brain when I was young. I knew nothing about finance. And the best advice I received from him was when you do start investing, especially when you get flexible enough to invest in equities, to invest in indexed funds. Because trying to quote-unquote beat the market is very difficult. It's not that easy, especially with someone with as limited knowledge as I have. So that was the best advice that I received. The poorest advice that I received, I'm not going to say who it came from, but but it involved the credit cards again, the rolling balance to carry it over from one month to the next. I didn't know that you weren't supposed to do that, but after reading the book I realized that, yeah, you should pay it down and don't carry a balance from month to month and build your credit that way.
This is Marga Lombardi from the University of Pittsburgh. I think the best financial advice I received was from my parents, and this was a few years ago as a high school senior trying to decide where I was going to attend college. And I really had my heart set on a small private university in Pennsylvania, actually Lehigh University, if anyone's familiar. And my heart was set on it, but it was very expensive. And while my parents did save for me to attend college and were going to help with the burden, they made it very clear to me that I was going to come out with significantly more student loan debt if I chose to attend Lehigh. And as an 18-year-old, that's a very hard decision to make, I think. But luckily, my parents sat me down and explained the implications of graduating with a lot of debt. And luckily, I think I made a good choice coming to the University of Pittsburgh in terms of my financial future and being able to pay off the debt as quickly as possible. And probably the worst advice I've received was actually pertaining to credit cards. There is a common misconception that you should let the balance carry over from month to month. And I've noticed this mostly amongst college women, that they think it's appropriate to have like 4 credit cards open at a time. I've had roommates that have done that, and I've actually given them financial advice that it's probably not the best idea, but pass it on to John.
This is John Braunschweigel from the University of Pittsburgh. So some of the best advice that I received was actually practical. When I was younger, my dad told me that he basically made a contract for me and said that, you know, if you take some of your birthday money and put it aside and give it to me, then in a year, you know, I'll give you X amount of dollars more, right? So earn some sort of interest on it. And I think that was a really good experience for me because I kind of got to experience some of the benefits of saving and also got to manage spending. So I wouldn't take my birthday money and go buy a video game or something. So it taught me to be a little more frugal.
This is Stephanie Brackville from Butler County Community College. One of the best pieces of advice that I've gotten over the years that has helped me when I was a student at Slippery Rock is also with the credit cards again. My dad and I actually opened up a credit card and he signed it with me, so it was his name, and he was helping to pay for it. So what we did is we put all my books on that credit card and we paid it off every month, and that built up my credit. So then after I was done graduating and I was becoming more independent, when I would go to apply for other credit cards and other finances, I got approved for them because my credit was good.
Thanks, Stephanie. I think that the best financial advice, kind of where I learned a lot of the things I carry with me today and helped me be more responsible in college, really do come from my parents and my upbringing. They kind of instilled in me at a young age the whole difference between a need and a want, whether it be me wanting the new hockey stick that the other kids were getting, or even growing up having like a small allowance for doing chores, kind of learning to manage my money and really appreciate work and appreciate the value of that money and how you're going to spend it and start being responsible for that. So I mean, even all the way up until when I was going to college, I had a similar situation as Margot. I really wanted to go to Syracuse. I mean, Duquesne is a great university. At the time, being younger, I was really had my heart set on it. And they kind of sat me down and said, same story, do you really want to graduate with this many loans? We can do it, we can help you out, but it really started with them learning, the value of money and how to be responsible with it and differentiating between a need and a want.
Excuse me for 1 minute, folks. I've noticed in the last 3 speakers, no big deal. But don't forget, we would also like to hear from you about some of the worst financial advice you may have received also. Go ahead.
Hi, this is Mark Funderlich from Butler County Community College. So I would say my best and worst, actually it's come recently. Right now, I have a friend who just graduated from college, and in chapter 10, they talk about how you don't necessarily need to take your dream job, just get a job and start saving right away. There's like a defining moment, and I've kind of seen my friend, take that defining moment in a good step. He's not working at his dream job, but he has a job. He's saving, he's taking steps to be financially secure. And at the same time, I have a coworker who took that defining moment the wrong way and didn't get his dream, tried to get his dream job right away and really sat on the sidelines. And I've seen how that has affected his life in plenty of negative ways to the point where he's having some major issues. So I would say that was my biggest and worst.
Hello again. This is David Ness from Duquesne University. I would say that the biggest, the most impact that's been had on me from the, in terms of financial perspectives, my entire family. My dad was a banker for 30 years and he's now a finance professor. My mom was a banker before she had kids. My brother and sister are both bankers. So I've had this whole financial literacy thing drilled into my head since I was yay big. But it's been, I have to thank all of them. It's been extremely helpful with all of these ideas. Probably the worst thing I've ever experienced or seen from afar was my brother-in-law. He was paying off his student loans and moved from his old address, and I'm not sure what happened, but there was a mix-up in the post office, and he did not get one of the bills for a payment from his student loan, and it destroyed his credit. When he and my sister applied for a loan for their house, there was a huge problem. His credit was no good, and he wasn't going to be able to be on the loan. So it wasn't his fault. It was a mix-up at the post office, but it really stressed to me, what can happen. So you really have to be aware of what can happen and pay off whatever there is that needs paid off. So that's for me.
I'm Chris Mazza from Fox Chapel High School, senior. I haven't really been to college yet, so all the advice that I've gotten, I have not seen if it worked yet. So it's going to be a little bit different for me whenever I answer this question, but I've gotten a lot of advice from this book and co-workers and family members, just basically about trying to save up as much money as possible for later in life. And whether that was through a Roth IRA or just putting money into your savings from your paycheck. So that, I think, will work out eventually in the future if I continue doing that. And then also a couple other people mentioned it about having any job's a good job, really. And I know a lot of kids in my grade that have never worked before. And whenever they start, they might not know what to do or just might not even get a chance because they don't really have anything under their resume about it. And I mean, even though my job isn't the greatest, I mean, I work at a supermarket, but it still has taught me a lot of stuff, and I think I'm pretty fortunate to have it. So.
Natalie Bonerati from Fox Chapel Area High School. I'm a senior as well. Worst advice I've gotten, our grade is pretty competitive, I'd say, in terms of applying for college, and everyone has been very successful, but kids will talk, to each other, and they'll say, I don't care about costs, do what you gotta do, go where you wanna go, and deal with the cost of your education later, which that's great. You know, can't put a value on an education, but my parents are both physicians, and they're both about to turn 50 here, and they just paid off their student loans within the last year. So that was kind of an eye-opener for me as somebody who would also like to go into that field, possibly. You know, do I want to be acquiring debt until I'm 50? And then, you know, the debt that their kids are putting on them as well, as we all head to college to do the same. So I think it's a common perspective among students that, you know, it's what can happen. You know, you go to school, get a great job, pay it off. What's the worst that can go wrong? But after reading this book, it just kind of reassured me on my decision to go to a school where I can receive academic help, athletic help to pay for that, and then hopefully not be paying off my student loans by the time I'm 50. So.
Kendra Sliss from Greater Johnstown High School. I'm a senior. I guess I could say the best financial advice I've gained from my parents. My mom's a banker, and so she knows about the same kind of the importance of the financial end of it. And they stressed to me, and they've showed me through their actions, that you only need one credit card to build up that thing, and you pay it off every single month. And that's something I've learned from them a lot. And another thing that they've taught me is that your finances are your responsibility, not anybody else's. So the day I turned 18, my mom, once again as a banker, signed me up for my student checking account as soon as we went right down to the bank that first day. And I learned that I have to keep track of it, and you have to keep track of what you spend your debit card on. And so you have to take the time to write it out so you don't make a mistake in that. And I guess another thing, it's kind of a unique lesson, but my brother is 10 years old, and he's a baseball player. And back to the one it needed, he really wanted this new baseball bat, and he's taught me that if you save for it and you put it aside, you can eventually have it. And so this past week he got his baseball bat in the mail because he saved it. So that you're saving, if you do it right, that it can happen. It doesn't mean you can't have anything nice, but you have to think about it and play it smart like that.
Janae Sacer from Greater Johnstown. Unfortunately, my mom didn't read the book. She doesn't understand, well, she kind of does now, the one it needed aspect of life. So what she did whenever I was younger was just splurge on things like clothes and toys and everything for me, and that put her in debt. And now she's not even able to own a credit card or mortgage or things like that. She's unable to like buy a home. And the struggle that I've seen from her, that my grandfather has to like, he bought the car for her, but he pays it, like she pays it to him. Like the struggle of that makes me realize that you really do need to pay off your credit. It's very important that you have good credit, or you'll struggle your whole life getting things, necessities like cars and homes.
I'm Claire Stem, senior at Greater Johnstown High School. I necessarily don't want to throw my parents under the bus, but they're pretty much the role models. Not the role models at all when it comes to credit card debt, because my parents figured the easiest way to pay off credit card debt is just opening up another credit card to pay off that debt. And my mother told me when I was reading this book, do not do what I did. They have been in so much debt, in the fact that my mom told me that they both earn enough money yearly to pay for my college and not have to struggle, but because of the immense amount of credit card debt that we have, it's going to be hard. And my mom actually told me that they got married 20 years ago and they just kind of paid off for their wedding. So, and the fact that I will be attending college in August, 2 weeks after that my dad will also be retiring. So it's going to be a big financial struggle, but we can do it. But the best advice that they gave me was to get a job. And I've been working for over a year now, and they helped me learn to, you know, I was a big splurger and I did like to buy everything, but now that I have my own job, I learned this is my money. I have to pay for my gas. I have to pay for my clothes. And I also learned on how to, with a W-2 and everything, the tax return, I mean, that has helped me a lot too.